I suspect that we are now recording. Okay, very good. So a good morning to everyone. I think that everybody is actually around the same time slot. So good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to know that you are interested in engaging with what we do at CRoLEV. And with Andreas and Katerina, we wanted to welcome you all, and we wanted to make sure that, you know, we keep you updated of the progresses of CRoLEV, hence this meeting. You can see the agenda of the meeting on the screen. I hope you can see my screen. So, you know, a small welcome from me. Then I will deal with points 1 and 2, the introduction of CRoLEV and its mode of governance, but also the role of the stakeholder board on CRoLEV and friends of CRoLEV or experts. I will also share with you a few announcements, which you will find of interest for your various clusters, institutions, and networks. And then Andreas and Katerina will take on the rest of the meeting before we have a Q&A session. Now, I think by now everybody knows what CRoLEV stands for. It is the Center for the Rule of Law and European Values. It is a center, a Jean Monnet Center of Excellence that is co-founded by the European Union from February 2022 to January 2025. And of course, we are hoping and doing everything we can for this project to be sustainable beyond 2025. So that's also why we're building synergies and strong relations with all of you, because for us, what matters is also what happens once the project actually terminates officially. Let me see if I can, yeah. So let me just share with you in a nutshell the objectives and the priorities of CRoLEV, and probably they will resonate quite well with some of your work. We have ambitious objectives, and they are split into 2 pillars if you want. The first pillar is research and impact, and the second pillar is teaching and learning. Objectives 1, 2, 3 are around research and impact, and objective 4 is around teaching and learning. So objective 1 is to explore the actual state of the rule of law and European values in several member states of the European Union and neighboring countries. More will be said later about this objective and about all the objectives, as of course there are keywords here that we need to define. Objectives 2 and 3 can be taken together, and they relate to the development of high-level research on the following. On the deterioration of the rule of law and values across the EU and elsewhere, on the specific threats to the rule of law and values which are faced currently or might be faced, on the possible ways in which the rule of law and value protections can be secured, and on the existing mechanisms the EU has to guard against the rule of law backsliding. So these are broad objectives, and of course, there could be a lot of discussion around those too. How do we intend to do that? Through the employment of a series of different methodologies and approaches suitable to achieve valuable and durable outputs with an impact on civil society and policymakers. And this is probably where CRoLEV is slightly different from usual initiatives. The methodologies and approaches we're planning on using are not typically legalistic or not only legal, but they are very much interdisciplinary and also empirical. Objective 4, which is of most importance to all of you, because we have started delivering teaching and learning to your institutions as well, is to deliver excellent teaching and research in EU law and related fields, and the wide dissemination of research results with a specific and timely focus accessible to the wider community. So Katerina will come back to public outreach and how we actually enrich the website with teaching and learning. But most importantly for me, as the director of CRoLEV, is the cross-cutting priorities. And these are around impact and knowledge transfer to a number of higher education institutions and organizations across Europe, including your own. And this is why we have adopted this model of a participatory approach and mutual learning, whereby we wish to involve all of you and update you. Now, in terms of the CRoLEV governance, I hope you can see my screen and you can see the organigram here. So you can see that we have built a governance structure which is respectful of others and inclusive. Other than the director, the chief researcher, and the senior researcher, who are Andreas, Katerina, and myself, who you will be introduced to in the next slide, we have two boards, as you can see, on the left and the right top. Today is the first meeting of the stakeholder board. We have another board, which is the scientific advisory board. You will meet them in the next slides as well. Under the CRoLEV team, the main CRoLEV team, there will be a postdoc, and there will be an announcement about it. There are a lot of trainers, including colleagues at the School of Law, UCLan Cyprus, but not only. There will be people from UCLan UK and potentially from your own organizations. There are officers. I think they're probably here at the moment. We have Katerina and Michelle. And of course, the target groups are also active. And this is why they come straight under the CRoLEV team. And of course, we rely on university services, on academic leads. We have a lot of colleagues involved, and they are responsible for particular rule of law lead. And experts, whether these are internal experts or external experts. So we have some at CRoLEV at the moment, but we are inviting others to join. And all this is basically based on the foundation of the network of CRoLEVnet, which is the next event, the one that is starting in less than an hour, the launch of CRoLEVnet. So you can now see how the stakeholder board fits and how at the bottom you've got also the network of experts and stakeholders who share our concerns and our interest for the rule of law and European values. So let me introduce now the three of us, in case you don't know us yet. So I guess I think everyone knows me. So I'm the director of CRoLEV, but I think you also probably know Andreas. Andreas was, of course, very essential and fundamental in EUPOP, our previous Jean Monnet project, which was a module. So Andreas is the CRoLEV chief researcher, but he's also the project manager. And Katerina, who is also very important for CRoLEV. Katerina was with us some years ago, and then she went to Edinburgh for a couple of years, and now she returned back to the school to take on also the role of CRoLEV senior researcher. So this is the CRoLEV team. We are the three persons who deal on a daily basis with CRoLEV, but we are assisted in our work by various experts, as I said before, at the School of Law UCLan Cyprus, across schools, because we are using interdisciplinary methods. So we actually have colleagues across the other schools as well in sciences and business who are also involved in CRoLEV. And as I said, we have all of you in the stakeholders board. Now, meet our CRoLEV scientific advisory boards. These are high-profile people who are associated to the School of Law of UCLan Cyprus, but they are not actively engaged in CRoLEV because we want them to remain independent from what we do in CRoLEV. Their main role is to quality assure the research that is ongoing at CRoLEV. So we have already started working with them. We have held already one meeting with them, and we will hold another one in December. And on which occasion, with Dr. Henrik Andersen, who is on the far right of my screen at least, we will hold a series of events in person because Henrik will be visiting us in Cyprus. So Henrik is the only one that is not based in Cyprus. He's, however, a senior visiting fellow of the School of Law UCLan Cyprus. And of course, for those of you who are from Cyprus, I suspect you have recognized the other four, who are quite prominent figures in Cyprus. So starting from the left, the Honorable Justice Dr. Akis Haji Hambiz, who is the former president of the Supreme Court of Cyprus, and he's an honorary fellow at the School of Law. Her Excellency Dr. Radogozaku Marcoulis, who is a retired and former ambassador and Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Cyprus, who is also an honorary fellow of the School of Law of UCLan Cyprus. The Honorable Mr. Justice George Arestis, retired, who is the former judge, the first Cypriot judge at the Court of Justice of the European Union, and who is also an honorary fellow at the School of Law of UCLan Cyprus. And the Honorable Mr. Justice Kostas Kleris, retired, who is the former Advocate General of the Republic of Cyprus, and he was actually awarded an honorary doctorate from the University of Central Lancashire in the UK, from UCLan. So this is the Scientific Advisory Board, and as I said, their role is mainly oversight, and therefore we will not involve them in the bulk of what we do, but perhaps invite them to participate to specific events. Now, let's come to the role of the Stakeholder Board and the CRoLEV Friends. The Stakeholder Board is a very loose entity, so it's not that you are in or you're out. You can be in, you can participate to the Stakeholder Board, but depending on, each institution, people come and go, so you can remain CRoLEV Friends anyway, whether you are on the Stakeholder Board or not. So this is one of the originalities of CRoLEV. This idea that there must be thorough project management via a number of deliverables on project management. And there is a QA strategy with a focus on knowledge transfer and interinstitutional relations across Europe and beyond. So by the end of the project, we will have secured a number of additional interinstitutional relations agreements, basically, with partner institutions. And we may even have, by then submitted some sort of a bid together. So this is one of the originalities. And of course, we have a number of CRoLEV governance and management manuals. Michelle is currently working on providing executive summaries of those manuals. You will be the first ones to be informed when these are ready. And actually, whatever we do is uploaded on the CRoLEV platform. So the platform has multiple features already existing or planned, so please feel free to visit the platform. Now, the role of the Stakeholder Board will be to oversee, again, the QA process, but this time not for research, but for knowledge transfer activities, processes, and outputs, and interinstitutional relations. So as I said, it's a loose board, it's a loose entity, where basically we will be accountable to basically report to you on updates of our work and receive any comments, any questions that you may have, and any suggestions for collaborations, cooperations, joint research, joint events, joint bids, as you name them. So the terms of reference of the Stakeholder Board are the following. The members must act on a voluntary basis and at no remuneration, so that there is no conflict of interest. The number of members is kept at an odd number as much as we can, and is kept as gender balanced as possible. Members can rotate, so we have an initial list, and it has already moved on. For example, the war in Ukraine has had an impact on the stakeholders in this project, so we have had to revise a few things. Members consist of, or may consist of, representatives from UCLan campuses. As you know, we have actually 3 or 4 campuses of UCLan. Obviously, UCLan is a British university with several campuses in the UK, but also the Cyprus campus is a fully fledged campus, and there is also a law school in Mauritius. So we tend to to do everything in an inclusive manner across UCLan. And our other stakeholder institutions, we have colleagues at the moment from Hungary, from Poland, from Slovakia, and a few other places. Preferably with no direct involvement in the development and the delivery of knowledge transfer activities. But we have a number of colleagues who are involved at the moment in putting together CRoLEV intensive courses. That's fine. There is no conflict of interest there. Also, members can consist of specific international and or professional organizations with a strong interest in the project, who might benefit from CRoLEV activities. So please feel free to suggest any such international professional organizations. For example, our colleague Alexandra has already suggested a number of associations, organizations. Happy to take on board more suggestions. Or it could be even, research centers and the likes. And experts in their respective fields. It could be experts in any aspect of the rule of law, as we have quite a lot of people with different expertise on the rule of law and European values from any discipline. And it can be at the individual level or the institutional level. Now, what is required is obviously the integrity to work in an international and interdisciplinary team environment and be based on good communication, cooperation, and consensus. I don't think that this is something that is particularly surprising for all of us here. So this is easy to meet. We will be meeting regularly. There will be a yearly General Assembly meeting like today. And in the meantime, there will be email exchanges. I would like to encourage you to subscribe to our website so that you can get our newsletter. The first one is forthcoming. And of course, these meetings are independent from project meetings. So we have a number of categories of project meetings as well. We have scrutiny meetings, we have progress meetings, and of course, we have meetings with the Scientific Advisory Board as well. As we are still in pandemic times, we would like to, and also because of the energy crisis and the war in Ukraine, we would like to keep meeting rules as simple and sound as possible. So everything will be online. There can be mobility to and from Cyprus, but that is going to be limited to whatever is strictly necessary. Now, I have a couple of more slides. One is about announcements. So first of all, an announcement for you here as the stakeholder board members. If you would like to take on the liaison role between your institution, your research center, or your organization with us, please come forward if you have not done so already. As I said, it's very flexible and no obligation and no commitment. Also, we have a growing list of contacts handled by CRoLEV. So I would like to ask you to give consent to receive our news. As I said, the easiest way is to get onto our website and subscribe. That way you give consent. So you will be receiving invitations to multiple CRoLEV events, but CRoLEV is also available for participation at other events at your institutions, across your networks. So please do have us in mind. We would be very happy to consider participation and grow the network. Now, in terms of the current developments, just to update you that we, together with another project based in the Netherlands, which is called Citizens Law, and I believe that one of the colleagues is here now, we have submitted to the UAC's annual conference for 2023 a themed track on aspects of the rule of law and European values. So if we are approved, then we are going to reach out to you to widely distribute the call for expression of interest or call for abstracts rather, for papers and panels. That deadline for the annual conference is on the 22nd of January, so we would need to do that beforehand. We also have published on the website a call for expression of interest for our CRoLEV editorial board for specific deliverables. Feel free to look at the call for expression of interest at the link on my slides, or just go to the websites and go to news and activities, and you will find it there. You're very welcome to circulate it, but also perhaps to consider it for yourselves if you would like to participate. There's a deadline which is the 18th of November. And we will soon be uploading and advertising a CRoLEV postdoctoral researcher position with an initial deadline of the 25th of November. And we would appreciate if you could help us to disseminate that postdoc. So in less than an hour, actually in half an hour, we will launch the CRoLEV Net. As I said before, you may remember from the organigram, you're welcome to join us. This is online and in person. If you have not registered yet, you can drop us a line, and Katerina Chrysostomu, not Katerina Kalaitzaki, Katerina Chrysostomu will actually get in touch with you. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for listening to me. I have written down for you, well, my email address if you need it, first of all. Secondly, the CRoLEV website. Also, our social media, please, if you could follow us on social media via Facebook and Twitter. And you've got the CRoLEV email address on the left, on the right down side of the slide.
Thank you very much, Stephanie.
Thank you, Andreas.
And I think we can now proceed to the second part of the stakeholder board meeting. That will be a very short presentation that I'm going to deliver. This shouldn't take long. After that, my colleague Katerina Kalaitzaki will deliver the final part of this meeting, and then we could have a discussion on the things that we mention or discuss and so forth. So what I am going to discuss today is I'm going to say a few things about the role and reach of CRoLEV Net. But first, what I wanted to do is explore in a bit more detail the various CRoLEV objectives. I know that Stephanie has already identified the sort of broad objectives of CRoLEV. What I'd like to do first is say a few things about more specific research objectives, those questions that have motivated our research and are motivating our research. These are questions that we are looking to explore throughout the duration of the process and even beyond. We are very much concerned about the state of the rule of law and other European values across the European Union and beyond that. And this has been one of the main reasons why we chose to pursue this project. And we are very interested to study and understand and evaluate those threats even further. Our previous project, Stephanie mentioned that earlier during her speech, EU POP looked in particular at the rise of populism and how the rise of populism within the European Union actually posed a threat to the structure of the European Union. And so in CRoLEV, we are picking up on that point and on previous research done in terms of how the European Union reacts in times of crisis. And we are looking to see how the European Union can or may strengthen and safeguard the rule of law and its European values when they are under such threats. In particular, what I have in mind when I speak of different threats to the rule of law, it's of course the rise of populism is one such threat. Then we have the pandemic and government responses to the pandemic. We currently have the war in Ukraine and the subsequent energy crisis that will lead and is already leading to economic backsliding, which in turn would probably lead to further threats to European stability and the rule of law and other values. And speaking about the rule of law, we are interested in various questions about it. We are concerned about how we talk about the rule of law, what we understand by the rule of law, how the rule of law relates to other European values, and that's part of the reason why in CRoLEV we are interested not just at the rule of law, but also in the way that it is linked to other European values. And the fact that there have been various approaches to the rule of law, of course, gives rise to various different answers to those questions. And that's certainly part of what CRoLEV intends to study. What we hope to achieve with CRoLEV is to build on broadened conceptions of the rule of law, so beyond narrow understandings of the rule of law, and examine how that broadened understanding of the rule of law that pays close attention to the link and the relationship between the rule of law and other European values such as democracy, individual freedom, and equality, how that enhanced view, broadened view of the rule of law can prompt us to better think about problems related to protections of the rule of law. And in doing so, adopting that more enhanced view of the rule of law would lead us to turn to different elements that are often disregarded when we discuss the rule of law. We all know that there is this immediate association between the rule of law and legal institutions, and that's absolutely the case. Talking about courts and judicial independence is certainly part of what the rule of law is, but we are also interested in different elements that link to the question of the rule of law, questions such as trusting in institutions or how insiders to the legal system, so how lawyers or judges or people who engage with the legal system on a regular basis, how they understand the rule of law, how they view legal institutions. We think that these questions are essential in order to better understand what the rule of law is and how that links to values such as democracy, for instance. And so those objectives that Stéphanie mentioned earlier, and she mentioned how we're interested in both doctrinal research and also empirical research. Our empirical research will seek to examine some of those elements with respect to Cyprus primarily. And last, one of the objectives of CRoLEV is to produce outcomes that could have some sort of impact, maybe some proposals that would help us better understand various threats to the rule of law, not limited to attacks on judicial institutions, and therefore pave the way for different approaches to protecting the rule of law that are indeed much broader. In terms of what the CRoLEV net is, CRoLEV net will have this meeting in at 12 o'clock, and you're of course welcome to join us for that. Is a network of experts. So it's people who are interested in similar questions as we are, people who are interested in questions about the rule of law, broadly construed. So it could be the rule of law in relation to fundamental rights, the rule of law in relation to democracy, the rule of law in relation to climate justice, and so forth. So it's a network of experts who are here to support the operation of CRoLEV. Indeed, we strongly believe that it is through engagement with those experts that we will be able to shape the various ideas that we have, that we will be able to receive feedback on those ideas, and maybe, of course, have some pushback on those ideas that will surely help us produce better outcomes. So the quality of the outcomes will be increased. And of course, CRoLEVnet will also support the dissemination of the different projects outputs that we have through CRoLEV, and this is something that Stéphanie again mentioned earlier with respect to building collaborations and synergies. Through CRoLEV, we seek to create this, indeed, a network where we'll be able to exchange project research outputs, to other experts, to other interested parties, who will then read those outputs, and then in turn they're going to send us their outputs, and so this will create a process through which we can produce enhanced research overall. This network will facilitate and support the enhanced impact of those outputs. And so we are going to talk more about CRoLEV later today, when we do have a lot of presentations for various partners who are going to present parts of their work. I imagine most of you will also participate, at least in part, to our CRoLEV launch. So I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much for your attention. And I'm going to cede the floor to my colleague Katerina, who will proceed with the final part of this meeting.
So thank you very much, Andreas, for the presentation, and thank you, Stéphanie, for the introductions. So let me share my screen now. I will share all of the screen because I also want to show you a few things on the website later on. So if you can confirm that you can see my screen.
We can see, Katerina. You can see the slide. Perfect.
Yes, thank you, Stéphanie. So what I will be doing now is to give you an overview of the progress that we've done until today in terms of research and in terms of other activities that we are doing through CRoLEV. So the objectives have been discussed in a lot of detail from Andreas and from Stéphanie earlier as well. So I will not I will not repeat them again. What I will be focusing on is to show you from these objectives what we have currently achieved, and also some of the upcoming and forthcoming events and activities that we have. So the progress I will give you and the focus I will have in the presentation is the research outputs that we have achieved until now within these few months that the project is running, and also the research-informed teaching and knowledge transfer activities that we have undertaken until now. Which are designed to reach academics, students, professionals, but also young people and the civil society in Cyprus and beyond. So if you have not participated in any of those until now, I will show you some ways that you can still watch and take part in these activities. And you can also subscribe to our website, as Stéphanie mentioned, to stay updated with those activities. So for both of these, let's say, areas, the research and the research-informed teaching activities, we tend to raise awareness on the rule of law, how fragile the rule of law is, and also how much it is affected during times of crisis. And we are intending to inspire some action to safeguard the values and the rule of law through the net and through the people who participate in these activities. So in terms of research outputs, the main research output that we have produced until today is the rule of law and European values beyond the state-of-the-art analysis that was written by my colleague Andreas, who spoke before, and myself. And this report that you can find on our website, and I will show you in a bit how you can find it, it tends to set out a clear needs analysis of the research of the project. So actually answering the questions that Andreas said before, why is it necessary to research on the rule of law? What type of crises are currently affecting it, and why it is even more necessary to research on that value, on that concept now. It is setting out the quantitative and qualitative methodological approaches that we are using throughout the project to research on these topics, the tools that we will be using throughout the research, and it is also clearly delimiting the aims and objectives of both the normative and the empirical research aspect of the project. At the end of the research, the results will be visualized in an interactive dashboard that will be created, and we tend to maintain that after the project is finished via sustainable means, and this will be done through our website. This particular dashboard will not only measure single indicators, which is the main aim of the research aspect of the project, but will also demonstrate clearly gaps, particularly and primarily in Cyprus. So our research has both a normative aspect where we try to conceptualize the concept of the rule of law, and it also has an empirical aspect where we try to measure particular, first identify and then measure particular single indicators that we think are useful to measure and assess the state of the rule of law in particular areas. And this will be done primarily in Cyprus, but the idea is that these tools that we will develop can be later used to assess and measure the rule of law in other areas of Europe and also beyond Europe as well. So within this report, you can also find out more details on how we are intending to collect data to develop these single indicators that will be used to maybe later on develop an index or just to use them to assess the state of the rule of law in Cyprus. So we will be collecting hard data and soft data as well. And we will need a lot of assistance with this data collection from the postdoctoral position as well, which Stéphanie mentioned in the beginning. So if you know anyone who would be interested in assisting us with collecting data to measure the rule of law, please make contacts with us. So in the hard data, we will mostly be collecting information relevant to the thin approach of the rule of law that we identify in this report. And this can be done, for instance, through the European Justice Scoreboard, where we identify hard data on the independence of the judiciary and other relevant judiciary aspects. But because there is some lack of information, especially for Cyprus, we are intending to supplement that with the soft data that I will explain in a bit. And also in the more thick approach to the rule of law, we will be collecting hard data on connections with democracy, like the media, or areas and characteristics of the rule of law that go beyond the classic identification of it and conceptualization of it within the judiciary. So we tend to take a broader approach to the rule of law, both using the thin approach and the thick approach to the rule of law. So to supplement the hard data that, as I mentioned, are a bit let's say not enough, they're insufficient to assess, at least in the case of Cyprus, we will supplement it with soft data, and we will collect mostly expert opinions from people relevant and at least with some legal background through focus groups and through surveys that again will be done together with the person that will be awarded the postdoctoral position that we advertised. So this report, which is also quite long but interesting, hopefully for you, can be found in our website. And I guess that you can also see my screen that I share at the moment. So you can visit our website and just click on research, and then you can click on publications. And you can find our report, the Beyond the State of the Art Analysis report, that you can read. And of course, we welcome any feedback that you can give us as the stakeholder board. And we have also developed, in terms of research, the digital library that you can also find in our website, where we have identified relevant sources, open access sources. These are institutional reports or other scholarly open access sources that are relevant to the rule of law. So if anyone is interested in the rule of law, feel free to use our learning resources to start your research and study the concept of the rule of law. Now, in terms of progress in research-informed teaching and knowledge transfer activities, we have, first of all, our LLM modules that are part of CRoLEV, but they are incorporated into our master's programs. And we have already finished with the first semester module, and we have another one coming up in semester 2. And we also have intensive courses that are currently running, and I will give you some examples. And we also have trainings that will be running throughout the project. So some examples of our intensive courses are the ones on the slides. I will not give you a lot of details on those. These will be also available through our website. And for the intensive courses that were pre-recorded, you will have the chance to also watch them and take part in the experience through our website, and you will also have the chance to have access to the material used in those intensive courses. So these are just for examples of the intensive courses that have run until now from colleagues of the School of Law and beyond. And in terms of LLM modules, we also have one that is forthcoming. We usually open these LLM modules to externals. This is usually legal professionals that are interested in taking these modules. But if anyone else is interested in taking those modules, please let us know, and we can give you access to the materials. So as with the research outputs, the didactic material on the website also give you access to the knowledge transfer activities. So for instance, we currently have 2 of our intensive courses on our website. And just by clicking on the relevant titles that is of interest to you, you can request access. Access will be given to you from our team after you accept the terms and conditions of the website. And by getting access to these courses, you will be able to watch the recordings, so watch the whole of the course basically, and you also gain access to the materials relevant to the courses. And we also have a dedicated space for our LLM modules that you can see again online. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope I will see you at the CRoLEV Net launch later on. Please feel free to ask any questions you may have, or to ask for more information on our activities, whether this is research outputs or knowledge transfer activities.
Thank you very much, Katerina. Thank you, Andreas, also for the very clear presentations of what we're trying to do. Now, because quite a few people in this meeting will have to jump to the other meeting, including ourselves, we actually have to physically go downstairs to the ground floor and start the podium and everything. Can I ask Katerina Chrysostomu maybe to leave the room and go to the actual physical room for CRoLEV Net? Some people are trying to join actually the MS Teams as well. But happy to take a couple of questions from our external guests. I can see here Elena, Danuta, Vasil, Sarah, Peter. We are happy to take any questions you may have. Sarah has already put a nice comment in the chat. Thank you very much, Sarah. On your shoulders is the task to engage other colleagues in Preston as well. and across schools, but we can talk about this later. So if anyone has any comments or any questions, happy to take that. Thank you, Peter, for the comment as well. No one has any questions? Okay, well, that's very, very good. That will allow us to move on. Thank you very much. If any of you has not registered to the CRoLEV Net launch and they would like to do so, you can still do so. Just get onto the CRoLEV website, go to news and activities, find the CRoLEV Net launch, and find the poster. The Google link is in there. It just take 1 minute to fill it in, and we will give you access to the MS Teams. Well, it was a real pleasure to see all of you, and thank you for your support. I hope you can go back to your various institutions and various networks and be our best ambassadors and friends. We will be in touch with further activities of CRoLEV. And of course, we have recorded this session, so we will be able to actually also go back to this meeting if we need to. Now, apologies, we also have a colleague from the School of Sciences here, Josephine. I don't know if she has anything to ask us as well. But this is a very interdisciplinary crowd. So we thank everyone, and we hope to see you soon again. Bye for now.